Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Time for a 3,000 mile update. In this video, I'll tell you what my experiences have been over the last 1,000 miles, if I've had any more issues, and I did have a glitch. I'll talk about my wife's perspective as we went on a 200 mile ride to Sebring and back. And I'll just let you know what my overall thoughts are after another 1,000 miles, so stick around. So where I left off at 2,000 miles was my last failure and warranty item was my rear air suspension compressor. That failed and was fixed right around 2,000 miles. So I'm eclipsing 3,000 miles today, and thankfully I've had no more problems with my rear air suspension. I think what I'm going to do though, because I'm a little gun shy, because you can't always hear that compressor, sometimes you can feel it. I more so feel the adjustment when my wife gets on. Not that she's a heavy person, but just riding two up, it seems to adjust more than just me. So what I'm going to do in the future, I think, I saw this on the forum, is get one of those Fobo TPMS sensor kits, and I'm actually going to put the sensor on the Schrader valve of the air suspension under the seat, and I'm going to check it periodically. This will just give me some good feedback relative to the compressor and what it's doing, because without I had an error code in the dash that told me there was a problem with the compressor, but I think there's some people out there that don't have an error that still have a compressor failure of sorts, and I'm just curious as to what the PSI is in it and how it changes. So I think I just want to keep an eye on it. I believe it's a chronic problem. When I talked to BRP about it, they didn't think so, and of course they would tell me it isn't. But just if you look on the forum, just some other YouTubers, it just seems like there's an issue with these compressors, and it's frustrating because the air suspension compressor isn't new to this model. It's been on these models for quite a while, so a bit frustrating. But regardless, we're approaching 3,000 miles, and I can say I've not had a warranty item in the last 1,000 miles, which has been a great relief to me. I had one glitch. I'm going to call it a glitch. I'm not going to really call it an issue, but when I was filming the Christmas lights video, we were driving around a subdivision looking at Christmas lights probably for a half hour at low speeds. I don't know, 10, 15 miles an hour. And when I came to the conclusion of that ride, we all kind of stopped as a group. I was with the Vespa Club, and when I came to a stop, the machine kind of hesitated and stalled. Now, I've never had this machine stall on me, not once. I've never had any glitches related to idle or it stalling or stumbling. So I was taken aback by it, and it wasn't even like it was super hot. I don't know why I attribute heat to it, but anyway, I was surprised. It did start back up after a little longer crank than normal, and I've never had that issue again. That's when we got down to Florida in December. It's now February. I'm just coming off a 200-mile trip with my wife. We rode from Sarasota over to Sebring. It was 200 miles round trip. Didn't miss a beat. 60, 65 on back roads. We just cruised over to Sebring, rode around, and cruised back. This thing was delightful on back roads at 65 miles an hour. It was a cool day, but we were fine. With the way this thing blocks the wind and with its heated amenities, everything was just great. So I don't have any major complaints after another 1,000 miles. My attitude towards the bike is the same. I still love it. I like it more than I did 2,000 miles ago. Of course, not having any problems helps, but just riding it. And I've really enjoyed riding this down here in Florida. It's just changed my perspective from Michigan. Being down here for the winter and cruising around all these barrier islands and keys has just been a fabulous experience. No regrets on bringing this down here, buying a trailer, getting it here. It has just been an awesome delight to have this thing out this winter while we're down here. So again, I'll say this. I said it in my last one. If you guys out there are on the fence, don't hesitate. I mean, go out there. Just don't wait. These things are a joy to ride. It is so fun. I'm enjoying it. My wife's enjoying it. So again, if you're on the fence, I highly recommend it. A few thoughts from my wife's perspective coming off a 200-mile ride. We're kind of ratcheting up our rides a little bit. You know, we're going to plan a trip from Sarasota to Key West. That's a 6-hour drive. I forget the mileage. So we just took a 200-mile trip the other day. We went out to Sebring and back, and her feedback is that she was comfortable on that drive. We were trying to figure out how long we could sit on the machine and when we would need a break. And I think we figured out, because it was 2 hours there, 2 hours back, that probably every hour-ish to hour and a half, no more than an hour and a half, we'd want to get off and stretch our legs and, you know, and that kind of thing. Because of, not that this is uncomfortable, it's just, that seems to be the point where you just want to get off and stretch your legs and take a small break. Of course, with the fuel economy this gets, you're going to stop every couple hours anyway. But I think the biggest thing for my wife that she noted, before we came to Florida, I put on the BRP OEM rear armrests, and she says that makes all the difference. You know, we have the grab rails back there and she was holding on, but since I put the armrest on, she just likes it so much better. So if you're, for your passenger, if you're on the fence about the armrest, they're not hard to put on. I've got a video, I'll throw it out there. Do yourself a favor, and for your passenger, put on the rear armrest. They'll feel a lot more comfortable. She does say she can't grab the handrails. It's ergonomically not as easy for her to grab the rear the handrails with the armrests on, but she finds the armrests just nestle her in and kind of provide her that bit of more of a safety aspect. She kind of feels cocooned in with the armrests because it's kind of tighter on sitting back there, I guess you'd say, the space-wise. So it kind of locks her in, and she just feels so much more comfortable having those armrests on. So I think that was a win-win for me and her. You know, if she feels safer, she's going to want to go on more rides, and this was a test, and she gives the rear armrest a thumbs up. They are pricey, but if you're thinking about those, I would say go ahead and do it. So she is thumbs up to the rear armrests. She did use the heated seat. She found that to be fine. And again, she's a little higher in the back. It was a windy, cool day. Probably started out at 48 degrees and ended up at like 55 max, but we were fine. We didn't have any major issues. So yes, this thing is a touring machine. So our next step is to ride a little bit farther and go to Key West. So again, positive thumbs up from the wife. I like this even more with another 1,000 miles under my belt. So yeah, no worries. My overall fuel economy at 3,000 miles is 34 overall from new till now. That's better than I thought. Just looking at my display here and there and the little indicator, it's always above 30. I wasn't sure exactly where. So yeah, it looks like my lifetime fuel economy is 34. I wish it were better, but it is what it is with the 7-gallon tank. You know, I guess you're going to have to get off and stretch anyway, but I wish it did have a bigger tank or get better mileage. But again, not a, you know, reason not to buy this. But, you know, someone had just posted on the forum the other day and asking they were going to buy one and wanted to know what they get for fuel economy. So my lifetime is 34, if that helps anybody out there. And just something else that's been niggling me, and I said it in my 2,000 mile review, that just I found out that it irritated me on the trip to Sebring, was this fuel consumption gauge. It just doesn't update fast enough. You fill it up and then you take off, and it kind of stays with the mileage I guess it knew before the tank got full. It'll adjust it slightly, and then it just doesn't update quick enough. Like when we were coming back from Sebring, I filled up in Sebring, and the display said 189 miles. And then as we're coming back, as it's sort of counting the fuel consumption, you know, down as we're driving 60, 65 on the roads, I'm like, it seems to be using more than I thought we would use, which is okay, and you want to know that. So I was down to like 80 miles to empty, and we were a little ways away from being back, and I thought that was a little aggressive. And it's been an hour and 45 minutes, and then I look down, and then the display gauge goes to 119. It's just, to me, that should be doing some kind of continuous loop or checking every so many minutes or seconds. But wow, when you drive 45 minutes and it really doesn't really give you an accurate reading and then updates, I could really see you'd be thrown off. I just kind of mentally do the math and know it's a 7-gallon tank. I'm getting 30 miles to the gallon, and just sort of, I don't really rely on this fuel consumption gauge to be totally accurate, and that's okay. I get it doesn't really, it's calculating it based on everything in the past, but it should take into account what you're doing at the moment and factor that in. But again, maybe they'll do a software update, but I just think this display is a little laggy in terms of giving real-time information. And I will say, I went to check the cluster the other day to check my fuel economy, and I went into the actual fault code area, even though nothing's presented itself on the display. And I do have a cluster lost communication code. It's just in there. I don't notice anything, and maybe that's why the fuel consumption is a bit laggy. I don't know. The next time I'm at the dealer, I'm going to ask them about it. I did a little research online, and some people say it's nothing. It's just there, but it's not really doing anything. But it is interesting that I have this fault code behind the scenes that's being reported. Nothing pops up to tell me, it's just there. And, you know, maybe it is just a thing that occurs, and the machine modules are talking to each other, and there's something that's being flagged. But outward appearances are, I don't have a problem. And I'm just speculating it has something to do with the fuel consumption gauge updating. I don't know that to be true, and I'm guessing the dealer would just tell me, hey, they'll either clear the code or say it's not a problem in terms of it, you know, presenting itself as anything other than the way stuff's supposed to work. So just wanted to mention that as well. I will say, you know, it's been another problem-free 1,000 miles, but, you know, if you are going to buy one of these, just pick a good dealer, you know, get to know them, trust in them that they can fix your machine. I think the weak point, and it's never going to change on this whole experience, is going to be the dealers. The dealerships are, I think they're going away. They're deciding they don't want to fix them and repair them, especially the old ones, even the new ones. So just do yourself a favor before you do buy one. Think strategically about where you would get it serviced at, the proximity to your location, where you're going to ride it at, and just have a peace of mind that if something does happen, you're covered. I talked about in the past video about my adventures with the dealer and service, but just do yourself a favor and research that part of it, and I think you'll be happier in the long run if you think about that. So let me know in the comments how your experience has been with your machines. I know I got some new subscribers and new viewers. Let me know what your fuel economy is, any problems you've had, any concerns you have with yours or getting one. If I can answer any questions, feel free to give me some questions in the comments. I try to respond to every single comment that is made on my channel. So let me know. And also, any other things you want to see me do with my Spyder. Happy to share what the community wants to see and what you want to learn. That's what this channel is all about. I do not have any regrets on this purchase. I will say, if you're going to purchase one, don't pay full retail. There's enough of machines out there, you know, current model year, previous model years. There's kind of a glut. I wouldn't pay full retail for this machine in any circumstance. I wouldn't suggest anybody else do that. It's not like it's it's definitely a buyer's market. There's more inventory out there than there are, people to buy them. So just act accordingly when you go. Don't get too wrapped up into paying full price, because I just don't think the market, they're just not selling all the machines they can make in this economy right now. So my advice would be, look for a deal, make a deal, walk away if you can't find the great deal that suits you, because there's just great machine and all, but the resale value and paying full price or over full price is just not something that I would do in this climate. But everybody can act responsibly, fiscal on their own terms, but that's just my perspective. So there you are. There's another video. Thanks for watching. Ride safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.